I did construction for a year on the road. So when I came back, my neighbor asked to build a shed for him. I'm like, oh, I could frame a shed. Like I did some framing inside some Smiths and so forth. I can do that. So I started putting a shed together, and I went down to Tough Shed had 2 or 3 locations at the time, and I just kind of copied it. Like, I'll just do that. But I noticed in their displays, every single shed door had twisted open because they'd use 2x4s to kind of give some that sheet that's the door. And so I'm like, man, why don't we just do like a tube steel frame on the inside, and then that'll stay straight forever because it won't follow the 2x4. I did that. And then I built that neighbor and a couple other neighbors some sheds. I'm like, hey, this isn't a bad gig. It's paying $1,500 to $2,000. It takes me a week to do it by myself. What a great job. And my net income was about 50%. I was marking it up double my cost of goods sold, and not taking into consideration my car and gas and all the other crap that you don't know about. And I thought, well, maybe I'll sell more. And my mom had always done trade shows and like sell stuff at the state fair and dolls and all that. So I'm like, maybe I'll put a couple sheds up at the state fair and see what I could sell. So during that 10 days, we sold just over $60,000 worth of sheds in 10 days. I'm like, wait a second, I don't need to go to school to make 60 grand a year. I did it in 10 days. Again, not net. In my heart, I just made 60 grand. So I'd taken a 50% deposit. And that's where the $30,000 came down to go buy my brand spanking new Dodge Ram diesel. Like literally that week, I'm like, look, I'm rich. I'm going to go buy a pickup. Whoa, did that put me in?
And you're still 18 at this point?
I'm still, I just barely. So I sold the 60,000, ran it all in, didn't know anything about marketing or anything other than the state fair, finished those sheds, and I'm self-employed at the time. By the way, got ticketed for manufacturing in a residential neighborhood, contracting without a license, no contractor insurance, no nothing. Like as I was building these shed walls in my mom's driveway, having lumber delivered to her driveway.
Did someone report you?
Oh yeah, like everybody. I had the city inspector show up like, dude, you're manufacturing without a license, or manufacturing in a residential neighborhood. That's a ticket. Then they caught me building a shed in the neighbor's house. And he's like, oh, you're contracting without a license. That's a ticket. I'm like, son of a bee, there's all these rules about business. Where do I find out the rules? There's no rule book. Like you just have to know. And like at the time, yes, it was before the internet. So I learned it the hard way through citations. Right.
Yeah.
And after
sorry, quick aside. We've interviewed World's Best Corn Dogs, if you know them, and Beehive Meals, which is just around the corner from you. They're on the other side of Hill Air Force Base. Both of them, same exact story. She sells $10,000 in a weekend of frozen freezer meals.
Yeah.
And they're like, you need a license. She's like, oh, I better figure that out. Goes and gets it done. The guy's selling corn dogs on the side of the road. Health department shows up. He's like, oh, it's all right, isn't it? It's a common trait of entrepreneurs in Utah. We just go for it and
then pay the fees. Like I have this a lot. I still do it today. Go ahead and find me, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just, I mean, I'm not a, Paul Alstrom. He's a great dude, by the way. Love that man. Nail it and scale it author. I'm the complete opposite. However, I'm like scale it, then nail it. Like we'll figure out the rules and regulations later. Let's just roll it out. Like,
why not?
I'm that guy. I'm like, if we're not selling stuff when the idea hits, even before we build a test product, I'm like, I get frustrated. I'm like, just see if people want to buy the idea and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's a problem for me. And we're getting better at it, by the way, now that we have engineers in my disposal and 3D printers and machine and manufacturing.
Some liability, kind of get
huge liability. So, but I mean, it's a little more discipline, but at the same time, if I could do that, I would do that every single day. So then I get that going, and then here comes winter. And guess what? You don't have any other form of marketing. So here I am thinking I have this little shed. I've rented a little location. I have these other things going on. I'm like, oh crap, do I have to wait till September for the state fair again to sell another shed? This is problematic. So then you learn about the yellow pages and you learn about all these other things. It grew really quick. And by the way, luckily enough, during the spike of those sheds I bought from the fair, I'd been going back and forth to Home Depot, which, by the way, in my heart was the only Home Depot on the planet, the 21st South and 3rd West, because there's nothing that exists outside of my world, right? So there's just the Home Depot. They said, hey, why don't you build our sheds for us? And I said, okay, you can do that, whatever. And next thing you know, they sent me this banker's box of books of like all these things that I needed to do. I'm like, who the heck do these guys think they are sending me all these books? They're buying from me. Like I'm the guy they're buying from. Why do I have to fill out your paperwork? You should be filling out my paperwork. Well, they had 500 stores or so at the time. So I was working with their merchant, and next thing you know, I'm trying to figure out how to supply 500 stores at 19 years old, like probably their youngest vendor at the time. I'm not 100%, but I would guess if not one of the youngest. And then they put a purchase order in And by the way, I told them, hey, I can't do 500 stores. We're going to do it by region. So Southwest region, and then we'll take it down that way.
Sure.
And I told the merchant, I said, dude, it's just me and another kid building these sheds. Like, I can't do that. And by the way, I can't afford to put displays in all these stores. Like, I have really no money. It's post this, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for all these displays. And even more importantly, they were hanging their displays on the wall back in the day. So they were like a house style and a barn style, and it was just the face of the barn. And they say, I want that style or that style. And I'm like, well, that's the dumbest idea I've ever had or I've ever seen, because how are you supposed to see my metal frame door, which is why they were buying my door or my shed. And I'm like, well, why would you do that? So I ended up having to convince Home Depot to not display their sheds on the wall and to really show them out in the lawn and garden department, which is kind of my favorite thing about that business. Is now whenever I go to a Home Depot store and I see that all the sheds are in the lawn and garden department, it's because I was 18, 19 and broke, and they couldn't afford. I really sold them it was the right idea. I'm like, it's dumb to put it on the wall. One, two, I can't afford to do it. So I convinced them to buy all my displays and put them in front of all their stores in the lawn and garden department.
Amazing.
You can, even at 19 years old, if you have the right idea and it makes sense. These guys are common sense people. They will, again, take a believable, factual data point and apply it. It's just harder than you think, and it takes way longer than you think, just like everything else. And so, again, in 93, automation wasn't really the thing. But what another way is creative thinking, right? So I noticed that every wall on every building was the same. I mean, that doesn't take a genius, right? You're going to do 2 foot on center, and then the windows that you're using are this. So I ended up building giant jig tables. And then what we did, and then I bought a truss press. And then I just ended up having units of 2x4s, and we could literally frame a 10 by 12 shed, painted, shingled, complete in 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Done, start to finish. So that was per line. So we could do one every 2.5 hours per line. So the first, they go across the framing table, it'd take them around 15 to 16 minutes to frame the building. And then they'd just take the gallon of paint, pour it across the wall, smear it. And that would take about 30 minutes to dry in the summer. Then they'd stand it up and then roll the trusses and sheet it and shingle the roof, hang the door and pop the trim. And then it was just one after the other after the other.
Laying the foundation for a Murphy door.
Right. Yeah. That's how we did it. And then I just took that model, kind of like the McDonald's ideas, like, let's build this one really, really good. And then we can take it to the next city and just replicate it. Exact same thing. And we actually built the jigs in Utah and shipped them down there. And then they just dropped off and they were ready to go.
Wow.
And the cool thing with the shed business, it's an amazing business, by the way, is it's 2x4s and sheeting and shingles. Like, you can really start this business anywhere at any time. And it's a really lucrative business. It really is.